Hello everyone. So this is the card that I was referring to in my Peerless watercolor review video, and if you haven't seen that, I'm going to add a link to it in the upper corner here. So I was basically just experimenting with this card and filming at the same time. So even though I wasn't happy with it, more so the way the products were working together, I'm still going to share it with you guys because, yeah, I'll just share some tidbits along the way. So I started off with some Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock and a stamp set from my Starry Sentiment set, and I stamped it along the bottom of the cardstock with my Hero Arts black ink just so that I knew where the sentiment was, because it's kind of the main feature of this card. That was kind of the whole point, is I wanted a star theme. So I got that stamped, and then I'm going to tape down the cardstock onto my craft sheet with just some painter's tape, making sure not to cover up any of the areas where these stars are going to go. And I'm just using the Simon Says stamp little falling stars, I think it's called, stencil. Yeah, falling stars stencil. So I got that lined up how I wanted and then taped that down really well. And then I'm going to use my translucent embossing paste on it. And that was my first mistake. I was kind of thinking of almost like an emboss resist sort of technique. So I wanted to use the translucent embossing paste and then watercolor over it. And what I really should have done was done a watercolor wash first and then use the stencil with like a white embossing paste. And you'll see why in a minute. But I haven't really worked with the clear embossing paste much yet, so I knew it would have worked, but then I add some more to it and I just kind of made a mess. But I got into place and then started spreading on the embossing paste, which it doesn't take very much. It always takes way less than you think it will. So got that spread into place, and then I made sure to clean off my tool and my stencil before doing anything else. And I messed up here a little bit again. You need to kind of lift it straight off, and I kind of slid there and scraped off a couple of little stars. So I tried to fix that by kind of scraping off the embossing paste, but I knew it's already on there, so by doing the watercolor resist, that spot is going to be, you'll notice it. But I'm just going to trim that off in a little bit once it's all dry. And then my camera wasn't filming at this point, but what I did was I poured some really pretty clear glitter over the embossing paste because, you know, it would stick to it and it'd be so pretty, and that was my biggest mistake. It makes a mess. If you're just leaving it, it'd be fine, but because I'm going to watercolor over it, the glitter got everywhere. It just made a mess. So I should have really mixed it with the translucent embossing paste, then applied it. It would have worked so much better than sitting on top of it. But yeah, you guys will see. So I grabbed my watercolors after everything was dry and my wide Tim Holtz water brush. And I got the cardstock wet first, and then I'm just picking up my Peerless watercolors straight on with the brush, and you can just see how vibrant the color is. It's just phenomenal. But this is where I started getting so frustrated because it kept catching on the stars, like on all that glitter. And I had glitter everywhere. It was in the container, it was on the sides, it was all over my fingers. I was just getting so frustrated. So it wasn't going like I wanted it to. So if I hadn't added the glitter, it wouldn't have been so bad. But yeah, like I said, I should have done the wash first, let it dry, and then done the stencil over it, and it would have looked perfect. But this still worked. I kept working with it because I was just determined to make this card work. So I just kept applying the color. I used 3 different colors from the basic pack here. Just a turquoisey color, and then a deep blue, which is extremely vibrant, and then the purple. And just kind of blended them into each other so they just fade nicely. And once I was kind of happy with that, what I ended up doing was picking up a lot of the extra color with a baby wipe. And that made me a lot happier because it made the stars kind of stand out, because I didn't like how the ink was kind of pooling around them and catching on all that glitter. So then you couldn't really see them. They looked like little dark blobs. So by soaking up some of the extra ink with the baby wipe, that made it look a lot better. So I did that, let it dry, and then decided to mat that onto a piece of black cardstock because I was just using a turquoise card base and it all kind of just was too similar. So I trimmed a piece of black cardstock, and then I'm using a lot of adhesive to adhere that because this was really warped from being so wet. So put a good amount of my ATG adhesive on it there, and then adhere it to the black cardstock, and then the easiest way is to flip it over and press it down really well with my hand. And then it's pretty much good to go. And just, if you're hearing noises in the background, Caitlin's in her playpen behind me, so making noises and playing with her toys. So once I did that, I grabbed some black hemp cord. This is just some American Crafts hemp cord. So I cut a good long length of that and then wrapped it around kind of the top of the card. and tied it in a bow. So once I got that tied, I always pinch the bow when I'm adjusting it so that it doesn't come loose after you've tied it, and then you've got this really loose bow on the card. So got that, and then I was really liking how the tails of the bow were just kind of slightly curved and they just looked really nice. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I thought, oh, I really liked how that looked, so I decided to leave them long and just trim off the little bit of excess there. And then of course, got out my trusty foam tape and put that on the back because I wanted to pop that up with a bit of dimension just to give it a little extra something there. So got all the foam tape applied to the back of this, and then I'm just going to peel off that backing and adhere that to my card base. So since I had trimmed down the watercolor piece, this gives it a little bit of a border on the standard A2 size card, so 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card, and then the smaller panel. And then finally, she's jumping in her playpen, by the way. That's the noise you guys are probably hearing. She can hear me talking, so she's trying to get my attention. Anyway, I lined up the stencil again on the inside of the card, and I just grabbed some MFT Sweet Tooth white pigment ink and a sponge dauber and just kind of mushed it into those stars. So it's not perfect because it's such a tiny little stencil openings, and it's a pigment ink, so it's really thick ink, but I kind of liked it. It wasn't perfect, and yet it just works. So I did that, and then I just grabbed the companion stamp to the same sentiment and inked it up with the black ink again. And then I'm just going to center that in the middle of the card front there along the top with my clear stamp positioner as always, and get that stamped. And yeah, that's all there was to it. So as always, I will post a link below to my blog post and a link to all of the supplies used. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye. You say bye-bye? She's waving. Bye.